Welcome to TeagleTalks Heart and Hustle, where passion meets purpose and we turn big dreams into bold moves. I'm your host, Sarah Teagle, business consultant and owner of Teagle Consulting, public speaker, and author of The Sisterhood of Success, The Heart and Hustle of Women Entrepreneurs. If you're ready to level up your business without losing yourself in the process, you're in the right spot. Let's get started. I am so excited today to welcome Kip Payne. He is the owner of Innovative Seamless Gutters.
My name is Kip Payne, as she had mentioned earlier. I own Innovative Seamless Gutters, but that's honestly the tip of everything. I also own IEI Holding LLC, which is a holding company that we've created, Innovative Estates and Investments, which is our parent company, and then a partnership with my operations manager for an education-based company, which is the Academy for Seamless Gutter Installation. And then I work full-time as a firefighter paramedic with the city of Newark here in Ohio. Primarily the business, at least that you see all the branding for the most part, we manage risks with water damage. And by doing so, we offer, custom seamless gutter systems and seamless gutter solutions.
I'm so excited to jump in to pick your brain on a few things. And I know that any other fireman will probably be wanting to pick your brain as well. Many business owners listening are in the same season. They have dreams, companies, or they are starting their company or wanting to start their company while working a full-time job and chasing a dream. What's been one of the biggest challenges that you are juggling, and how do you push through that on a day-to-day basis?
I'm actually probably more fortunate than most when it comes to having a full-time job and running a business, just because my schedule gives me a lot more time off than most. I work 24 hours on duty, but I also have that 24 hours to myself. Depending on call volume, I can do stuff on my computer that maybe I don't get the time to do in the operations side of things. I actually consider my full-time job more of like a part-time job, and
Right.
my business is more of my full-time job.
One biggest takeaway from any hustler or side entrepreneur or someone chasing that dream is they have to wear all those hats.
I don't know how people with a 9 to 5 do it. By the time you get home and you eat, and when do you do laundry? When do you do anything?
The stress is real when it comes to building your dream outside of a 9 to 5. And I think that's a good call out, is everybody has their own struggles and their own journey, but never giving up is huge, and keeping your eye on the prize. At Teagle Consulting, we help a lot of owners create clarity. And with 30, 60, 90-day plans, if you looked at your next 9, what are your biggest goals for your companies?
Well, currently, we're in the process of raising capital. And with that capital, it's going to be injected into the parent company, in which our holding company will then take a loan from the parent company, which will purchase the assets that the gutter business owns. You had heard me earlier mention the ASGI, so the Academy for Seamless Gutters installation. Struggling with the staffing issues that we've had, ASGI would integrate with local vocational schools and colleges to be able to recruit people to go through our training program, and we would have a certification that would come with it. So I've also brought my mom on board. She brings us a fresh set of eyes and new ideas, help improve culture, decorate the office for Christmas. We also have our preventative maintenance subscription plan that we've developed. The other thing that we've come up with is detailed gutter inspections, and we want to kind of target real estate agents, brokers, people within that industry, because when you go to buy a new home, you can get your roof inspected, foundation inspected, all these other things that can be inspected, but nobody inspects the gutters, which are what collect rainwater from the roof and mitigate it away from the home's foundation. So if those are defective or not working correctly, that's where you get water in your basement. That's where you get foundation shift, foundation crack. We want to hire new installers come February, redevelop our sales training program. And we had some of the stuff at the start of the year, but we have more data to show like what did and didn't work. This next 90 days is driven towards and focused on.
It's really important that everybody has the projections, the 30, 60, 90-day plans of small goals and actions that ultimately helps drive your business forward. What part of building a business has surprised you the most? And what have you learned from it so far?
I would absolutely say is people. The other stuff, you kind of can figure out. There's books about it. I mean, there's books about people, but people are unpredictable. Computers and systems and things like that are more predictable. So as a paramedic, I've been trained to think for myself and make decisions in high stressful situations under pressure. But there's something that I can refer back to, and that's our systems, and that's step-by-step guide. My fear of failure was always a big driving factor to me. So I feared that more than anything. So I just obsessed over learning whatever I could to not fail. The key thing when you are an entrepreneur, because it is not comfortable, there's a lot of pain and discomfort that you're going to go through. And it's just how much of it can you endure and keep pushing forward with that.
You mentioned it being uncomfortable. And I like that you said that, because a lot of people in their mind, when they think entrepreneurism or they think I'm going to go start a business, that it's going to be easy. It's just going to kind of happen. You know, you may not have to work for it as much, or you have a really great idea, so everybody else is going to understand and get that idea. And that's not always the case. You may have to do the same thing day in and day out for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, pivot on ideas that worked in the beginning. Now it's not working. I got to pivot to how have some of those skills shaped the way that you're leading your company and running your business?
You figure out what are good leadership qualities. What is something you look for in a leader? Which ones are you going to, respect? Correlate that in business. It's taken a minute to disconnect the emotional aspect and try to think with more clear mind. That integrates with the system and with the thought process. And then there's also, the team part, the family aspect. So a lot of that culture is in this business as well. As firemen, we haze each other, and it's a test. If I'm going to haze you, if I'm going to pick on you, which others might find brutal, the reason is I want to know that when shit goes down, are you going to have my back? If something happens, are you going to pull me out? And so yes, we pick and we're testing. It's a test. Do you have the mental fortitude and the mental toughness to be able to do this and to make sure that we all go home at the end of our shift? And so we kind of all have that within the business where we all mess with each other. And I like that. I like the family atmosphere. I often will catch my team laughing and talking. Here at our shop, my mom put up a dartboard, and that's something to help with culture. There's I have a window that I can see out into the shop area. They were playing around with the darts and just laughing and joking. Things like that, to me as a business owner, those mean honestly the most.
Your venture as an entrepreneur is that you do hold your values to your company very, very close. Every business owner needs to think about as they're starting a company, or if they're starting a team, or just wanting to establish something, is what are you going to stand for? What does your brand mean? What are the values that you want all of your employees to uphold, and what do you stand for? Every company is different and has different values. If you find a company that aligns with your value system, it's much easier to be an employee or to be a leader in that company. And so it's just something that came to my mind when a lot of us spend more time with our coworkers at work than we do our families. You and I have worked in some mentorship. If somebody is thinking about investing in mentorship, Teagle Consulting, we do mentorship, we do consulting. What made you decide to invest in your business for guidance? What are some of the wins that you've seen?
I was investing in myself.
Okay,
because for my business to grow, I can't stay stagnant. So I have to be able to bring the business to my level. There's a lot of people that are against mentors or coaches. But if you think about it, Michael Jordan had a coach and he was the greatest NBA player of all time. I'm not going to get in debates. I don't know enough about basketball to go on stats, but everybody knows his name. Right. Professional bodybuilders that compete at the Olympia level have coaches. Everybody that is a master of their craft has a coach. It is somebody that is not emotionally involved, that is an outside perspective, that can guide you through times where you don't have clarity, and they can get you to that next level. And if that's where you're looking to go, you have to have something to get you to that point, and having somebody that knows how to is vital. So it's not necessarily like it's a who kind of thing, like who can get me to where I need to be. So I've never been against coaches. I've had coaches with lifting, and I also knew within business, like I needed something that was not emotionally invested. And I also know where like my limitations would be. And the only way for me to get better is to have somebody who is beyond me so that I can now learn from them and practice their behaviors. For me personally, my communication skills and my emotion regulation, how I would handle my team problems, was honestly the biggest reason for looking for coaching. How do I manage people? I've never had to do that. I'm not in a leadership role in my full-time profession. Like it's me and one other person on a truck, or, if I'm on a fire truck, but like I have a commanding officer 99% of the time who is, dealing with that side of things. So I've only had to look out for myself and the other person on the truck with me. Never like, okay, these people depend on me. They're looking to me for guidance, and how I show up is highly important, and dealing with customers. Sure, I can be friendly and nice, without the confrontation, but what happens when there's confrontation, when things are bad? And that was where I was like, I respond emotionally way too quick, way too much. How do I learn to control and regulate those emotions so that I'm not responding in a way that's gonna, cost me or that I'll regret later.
Tell us a little bit about what sets you apart, and what do you believe that customers value the most about the way that you operate?
What sets us apart from those that are within the industry is we educate our customers. We don't believe in high pressure sales tactics. It's more about educating the customer to help guide them to making the best decision for what they feel is right for their needs.
Your website is very informative. It's providing the guidance or the information to make the right decision.
I'm that person that does believe you're either being sold or you're selling something, whether it's an idea or a product or whatever. For this business to be successful, we have to have sales. I don't want to depend on other contractors for work because they can just pull the carpet out from me at any point. I need to be self-sustaining without anybody. We want the product to sell itself in that way. I don't want to be a product pusher, but I want to have the resources available. When the customer calls me, they've already looked at my website. They've already looked at Facebook. They're sold before I show up to do the estimate. How I show up, how I speak to them is kind of, they're looking to see, are we going to work well together? Am I going to have issues communicating with you? Or if we have a problem, am I going to have issues there?
If you're providing or leading with value, then the solution and that person is going to automatically come, because instead of pushing a product, you're providing a solution for something they actually need. You're solving a problem. And so if you're leading with the value and the problem solving behind their issue, they're going to see that you're the right fit. What advice would you give to someone who's wanting to step into entrepreneurship but is afraid to take that leap?
I don't think that it's a bad thing by any means to want to start your own business. But I can definitely tell you, when I started and I had my little poor, crappy business plan and thought that, I'd make money and it'd be fantastic. And I didn't know the road that lied ahead of me. It is hard. It is very hard. There's a lot of sleepless nights. You shouldn't be doing it for money. You should not be starting this for money, because the moment that you realize you don't make any, you're going to quit. To know what your why is. Why do you get out of bed? Why are you going to sacrifice and go through hell? Sure, like you'll get the reward later if you keep, figure it out. Like, yeah, sure, you'll get the money, but like that's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you happy at all. Again, I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy. I don't have a plethora of money to sit on or anything like that. But I know that the pursuit for money is not going to do it. It's a piece of paper with a dead president on it. It buys us things.
Yeah.
But for me, the things that impact me the most are, I'm providing opportunities to other people, providing a job so that they can support their family, and providing a place that they enjoy coming to work, and that our culture is good, and that people are encouraged to thrive and grow as an individual versus, capping them and leaving it open so that they feel like they have a voice where they're at, and so that they enjoy coming to work. Because like you had said before, we spend a lot of our time going to work and working for someone else. I became a business owner, and I never wanted to be owned by my business, and I didn't want to create a second job for myself. I actually wanted something that would provide for me and provide me the ability to leave the fire department, which is my intention. But the thing that gives me a reason to keep going, even when things are incredibly hard and I want to quit, is knowing my purpose.
Love that. And as entrepreneurs that have been in the game for a while, we know how hard it can be. It takes a toll. Thank you for being vulnerable about that, because it's a lot of people will see on social media, especially these days, just put a few posts in a day and you're going to get rich and all this is going to happen, and write a book and everyone's going to want to go buy it. If you don't have a purpose and you don't have a why, when times get hard, you will quit. A lot of us are not doing it to be rich. We would love to bring in all the money and, ultimately, yeah, is that the goal? We want to be able to take care of ourselves and our family. But the other thing that comes into entrepreneurship that you mentioned that is kind of a two-edged sword is that's a lot of responsibility.
This
When things go really right for an entrepreneur, it goes really right. And everybody is really happy and everybody loves you because you're providing the paychecks, you're providing the bonuses, you're providing the stability for their families. You're providing that for somebody and for yourself. But when it goes really bad, I've had conversations with business owners of bankruptcy and losing their business. And what am I to do next? How do I exit this plan because it's not working and get in, pivot? Those are strong convictions as an entrepreneur because you have a lot riding on yourself, but also for all the employees behind you that are counting on you. It's a heavy load. I know entrepreneurs that have lost everything and had to rebuild, and they've done it. I appreciate you sharing that because there is a lot of people that don't try because they are afraid or because the sacrifice is too much. And they may not be in a season where they can do that now, but they want to later. So they read those books, they listen to the podcast, they try to gain the knowledge from people like you and I who may be in it, and we are pivoting and we do all of these things to make ourselves better and learn. So I appreciate you for sharing that.
Yeah. You mentioned risk. I kind of wanted to bring something up on that if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, it's a risk starting it. I took a huge risk starting it. I knew how to physically do what we were going to offer. I didn't know anything outside of that. But the other associated risk that goes on the back end of that is I'm taking a risk working and spending 25, 30 some years of my life, depending on somebody else for an income and a pension system that, how many other pension systems have gone bankrupt and you get to your 60s and you're ready to retire. And by the way, there's no money.
Yeah.
So risk up front when I'm, still have youth and time, or risk later when I can't do any of that. And so you really have to look at the truth behind the risk. What are you actually risking? Alex Hormozy says this often, and that is, the worst thing that happens is you die and then it doesn't matter. That's the worst thing that can happen. Like if you lose everything, like you can still start again. So the worst possible outcome for you is you die and then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so take the risk. You have no idea the journey that's on the other side. And the biggest thing, the most important thing is that you invest in yourself and that you have a good understanding of who you are, what you represent, and what you stand for, because that'll help you through hard times. But the more knowledge you have, the more that you make calculated risks, the more that you can pivot and plan strategically. You mentioned bankruptcy. Sometimes that's a strategic move. Sometimes it's not a thing of defeat. Sometimes it is like, okay, I need to do this because I got to take a step back to take 3 steps forward.
I'm glad that you did, because I've talked in a previous podcast, somebody interviewed me to tell my story. And I talked about the pressure that society puts on, or, the thought process, bankruptcy, that it's a bad thing. And yes, I mean, it is a strategic move in some instances, right? And it's needed, and you do it and you move on. And it helps you set yourself up for success for your next venture. Removing the society views, at least for me, one of the things that I've learned just through my career in corporate and outside of corporate is society places a lot of constraints, but at the end of the day, an entrepreneur always has to do what is best for them and the strategy that they have in place. Nobody else has to understand it. We have one body, we have one mind, and one life for our entire lives. And so we're the only person that has to live with the consequences from the decisions that we make. And we're the only one that can guide ourselves through any strategy, through any pivot. We only are accountable for ourselves. If you don't know who you are, you don't know your why and your purpose, I would start there before you become an entrepreneur, right? Because if you're not strong in who you are and what you and how to maneuver through what life is going to throw at you.
2025 has provided me with more clarity than I've ever had my entire life. And I mean, I spent a lot of time like, what is my core values? What is my why? I just really had to, dive in deep, like all the way to my childhood to like determine my personality traits and understanding why I would do certain things. And like, that was a journey I learned through being an entrepreneur. And, being in business is going to test you to, outgrow your weaknesses and make them stronger, because it's going to expose everything about you not good at.
I read a saying over the weekend that was talking about you don't know who you are until you become an entrepreneur and go through the process. And then once you do, it's going to expose everything about you that you need to change. And sometimes that is the process. That's deep. So
Yeah, I've got goosebumps now.
yeah, I mean, it was deep. I was like, man, that is a lot to think of through. Kip, I want to just thank you for spending time with me today and having conversation and being vulnerable and just talking through a lot of your journey. How can someone hire you or get in contact with you?
The best thing would be through our website, which would be uw.innovativeseamlessgutters.com.
Kip, again, we appreciate you for taking time to speak with us. I just want to say thank you for spending time with me today. For more strategies, if this resonated with you at all, you can grab my book, The Sisterhood of Success, The Heart and Hustle of Women Entrepreneurs. You can follow me on social media. You can find us at TeagleConsulting.biz and our YouTube channel as well. If you're ready for coaching and you're looking for a speaker to inspire your team, your business, fill out that contact us section and we'll get back with you. Until next time, keep leading with your heart and hustling with purpose.